Video on your Facebook profile. So I can't go live on Facebook. Good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday. It's Tech Tuesday. And what a day we have planned for you. So I'm getting ready for the day. I hope you are as well. And I hope you are planning to have a fantastic, safe Tuesday. We are going to have two sessions today that you need to be aware of. One is for IAEI News Live. That's at 12 o'clock Eastern. Now, what I did for that, I've been doing some homework around definitions, around services and things like that. Hey, Steve, good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Salute. So what we're going to do at 12 o'clock is I want to explore the defined terms of service conductors, service point, things like that. Get all of your editions of the books, of the code books out, because I am going to go back to my library and I'm going to bring all of my historical code books here. I go back to 1923, I think it is. I go to the original one, which I think many of us have. But I go back to about 1923, and what I want to do is talk about some definition of terms and around services. I think we can explore that a little bit more. But I'm really excited. At 5 o'clock, we're going to go live again, and I'm going to have Mr. Tim Mikloiche. We're going to have our first ever series. We got two series that I'm working on. Two special events. I don't know about a cadence yet. We're all busy people. So, but Tim said nope. He wants to do his live. So, and he and I have not prepared outside of talking a few times. But we are going to have a new series called. Are you ready for this, Steve? The Shocking Truth. The Shocking Truth. So IAEI News Live is expanding to two special series. One is The Shocking Truth with Tim Mikloiche. We're going to explore. So at first I was thinking. So in our discussions, we were talking about the myths. You know how we'll say things like I don't know. It's like the old adage of the Christmas ham. You have to cut the both ends off. I don't know, Tim, if you've ever heard that one, but I've heard that story before where they say, every year they cut the ends off of the ham, and it was a family tradition, and nobody knew why, but they just knew. There was all kinds of rumors. Right? Probably, it adds for the flavor and it lets the juices out and all these things. And one year, they had their grandmother in the kitchen and they were cutting the ends off, and they asked her, why do we cut the ends off? You're the one who started this. Why? And her answer was not that it promotes the juices to flow, it promotes a moister product or whatever. Her answer was that their oven and the pot that they had was too small. So they had to cut the ends off for it to fit. Now, they got a bigger oven and they got a bigger pot, but they always cut the ends off because everybody lost sight of why they cut the ends off. So I liked Tim called me with this idea. It's his idea. And he said, I want to do a program on this topic of all of these myths that we know and we've heard. So we have a ton of them, right, Steve? We have a ton of them. I previewed about 5 minutes ago. So this will be our first edition, and I know Tim's probably like, what are we going to talk about? I mean, we have a list of topics, and we've been writing down the myths. But if you know a myth or what you think is a myth, or something that you another one, which I'm not going to talk. I mean, there are a lot of things, putting the ground pin up or down, That's another good one. What do you think, Steve? That's another good one that I know is in our industry. So we're going to either disprove the myth, or the myth might be 100% accurate, right? It may be something that we have just accepted as reality and truth, and rightfully so. So we're going to do what we can to bring the shocking truth to the industry. The other one, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I am working with one of my mentors. He is a very special person to me. He was introduced to me a long time ago by Mr. Mark Early. And I have a lot of respect for Mark. I have a lot of respect for this individual. And I am very happy to say that he and I are going to be working on something that I believe you all are going to benefit from, as I have over the years, because he's an electrical inspector, and he had brought up issues that he would call me with I'll call them opportunities. And through those opportunities, I learned a heck of a lot. And when I first met him, I told him, I want you to teach me, and I want to learn as much as I can from you. And that he did deliver. So I am going to be able to record. Now, we're going to record some sessions together, just because his schedule and my schedule, there's only so much you can do live. So we're going to record our sessions. The title is yet to be delivered. I think you're going to get a lot out of that, because it will be very educational. But that is going to be another very important one for all of us. And I think for the industry too, because I think we're going to drive change out of that one. That's what I think. And change we do need on the topic that we're going to have a series on. So, two big things today. One, at 12 o'clock Eastern, IAEI News Live. I'm going to grab all of my books out of my library over there that are my code books going back to 1923. I do have editions that I do not have that were probably out there, and I know some of you have a much better library than I do on old code editions. So please dust those books off, bring them to the table, because we are probably going to need you to be looking them up and write in the chat box some of the requirements. Because on, I'll give you for instance, service. The definition of service. I go back to 1923. There was a definition there. The earlier one I have is the original, and there's no definition. So I don't know when the definition of service actually made it in the code, and what did it say. We'll take a look at the first edition of the book, of the code book, and see what we have to say in there about services, or the service. But I love the history aspect of it, because as I was going through the history, Laurel, good to see you, Laurel in Omaha. As I was going through the history of the defined term service and how it changed. Now, I don't have the like the report on proposals and report on comments to understand why something the words changed and why they moved things, but all we can do is surmise. And what's interesting is when I look at the term service and see when it changed, pulling in some other key areas of the code, like, for example, when they first introduced the term service point. That was a strategic piece of the history, and I'll explain why at 12 o'clock Eastern. I'm not going to get into it right here. But I learned a lot with regard to how the code language interacts with each other. How we make a requirement, learn something from that because it gets out in public, and some people go, "Hey, this is the greatest thing since apple pie, and you need to be doing this all these other places." Or we make a code change and we say, "Oh my gosh, it exposes other vulnerabilities." And a good example of my best example of that is what occurred in the 2026 code cycle. I introduced a defined term of service disconnect. It got unanimous support as the first draft. But in second draft, as we took the time to digest this term, it exposed many issues inside of Article 230. So much so that the panel said, we're going to have to delete this freaking definition. We can't have this because it exposes all of these problems. And May, good morning. Appreciate you. Are you doing a great? Hey, thank you, M. Sayegh? S-A-Y-E-G-H. Sayegh? M. I'm going to call you M. It's a little easier. Just like instead of Dimitrovich, TD or Tom. So, but in any case, in some cases, we learn clarities and sometimes can expose other issues. So anyway, I want to take another deep dive. I want to do a deep dive into the defined term of service. Well, I know we're going to cover service conductors, and we might be able to cover a few other terms around services because my desk is going to be full of books, different editions of the National Electrical Code, and fortunately for all of us, those older books are small. In fact, the really old ones are really small and really petite. So I'm going to make some room on my desk. And, I don't know if you've ever seen these. Do you know what that is? It's a candle. So Bobby Joe makes candles, and she saves these jars. And that one there, that really big one right there, that was a vase that I gave her flowers in years ago. And she, I don't know, maybe 12 cups of wax are in that thing, and it burns really nice. And man, I'll tell you what, makes this basement. I like the caramel and apple spice or something like that smell, and oh my gosh, is it good. But she made me a bunch of these, so she fills these jars up and then I just burn them. I love the votive. I've got this little votive that I've had for years. I'm not sure where it's from. It's been in a family. It was my grandmother's and now it's mine, but probably her grandmother's. I don't know. But I got candles everywhere. I got to put them back in there. But if you ever want candles, let me know. Bobby Joe has Two Adorable Labs website, and she makes and sells candles and a bunch of other stuff. So, but anyway, the candles are made out of beeswax, something like that. Special wax, and the wicks are supposed to be good, not harmful for the environment or something like that. They're like a cloth or whatever. I don't know this stuff, but all I know is they smell great. 12 o'clock Eastern and 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern. 12 o'clock is going to be IAEI News Live. We're going to take a deep dive into defined terms. And 5 o'clock is the shocking truth. And I came up with an icon for the shocking truth. Tell me what you think of this. Organizations, IAEI, shocking truth. This is our cover. You ready? Here we go. Me and boom. What do you think of that? The shocking truth. The definitions are absolutely important to be as precise and clear as possible, and only through constant review hold on. Clear as possible, and only through constant review and revision can we ensure mistakes are not made in the field. Absolutely, Steve. And you know, again, I think that, and I call those, I used to think differently about Article 100. It always seemed to be the most boring part of the code updates and stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you something. In my humble opinion, the Article 100 defined terms are like one of the most critical pieces of the puzzle, because the defined terms are the gateway to the requirement. If you don't understand what something, if I'm in my basement, would you call this a basement or would you call this a living space? I'd have to go look at the defined terms. Is this a living room? Is it an office? Is it a den? Is it a kitchen? That little half bath back here, I've got a commode in there and a sink. And a candle burden in there too. But I got a commode and a sink. Is that a bathroom? Does it meet the definition of a bathroom? Because if it meets the definition of a bathroom, then that brings in a bunch of requirements for that room. So, Laurel, yes, Laurel. I you know what? And Steve, you guys, thanks. I appreciate it. I tell you what, I'm looking forward to the shocking truth with Tim Mikloiche. We're going to have a good time. We are going to have I think, a really good time. Whoop. Yes, you can't overstate the importance of definitions. Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be a really good discussion, I think, this afternoon at 12, and hopefully everybody will bring their vintage code books. I'll put a list of my code books together to let you know what I have. Jake's barking because Bobby Joe is taking some samples from Maggie to the doctor's office today for tests. Maggie is going through a bunch of tests. We don't know if she has cancer. We don't know if we know she has 2 tumors that are on her adrenal glands. We don't know if they're cancerous yet. And that's a very important thing, because it's either going to be chemo and all that jazz, or it's going to be a different thing for, I forget what the there's some other disease. So it's one or the other. So we've got to figure that one out. But that girl, you would never know that she is even sick. She has a torn ACL. That's how we discovered all of this. She has a torn ACL. Take her to the doctor. Doctor, actually during her normal checkup, said there were things that were elevated. I can't remember what it was. So he wanted to do a little bit more homework. And it's my buddy Mike Pensenstaller. I went to college with him. Mike Pensenstaller is the smartest man alive, in my opinion. He's just phenomenal at what he does, and we're blessed to have him as part of our world. And he works on animals. And the reason he said, I remember sitting in college and I asked him, because he's so smart. I mean, I was having problems in physics 6 or whatever it was, and I just could not grasp a topic. I was so frustrated one day, I threw my book across the room. And he got up. He was sitting in the other room. He come over and he picked the book up and he goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Mike, I can't understand this." I can't do the questions at the back of the chapter. You know how at the end of every chapter you had questions. And I said, I can't. Now, he's never had physics 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever number it was. He said, I said, I can't even do the first question at the end of the chapter. And that tells me I don't understand the chapter. And I was really frustrated. So, and I'll tell you what he did. He took the book and he went in the bedroom, his bedroom. 20 minutes later, he came out. 20 minutes. He came out and he taught me that chapter better than the professor did in the classroom. He had never taken the class, never seen the content. All he did was read the chapter. He answered all the questions in the back, and we went through them together. I knew I was in the presence of brilliance for an individual. Like, he never studied. He was valedictorian, never studied. The guy never studied. And I asked him one time, I said, how the heck can you get straight A's and not study? And he said, well, I go to class. I take my notes. He just remembers. I'm like, holy crap. I sit in the library, and I would sit in the library till after midnight I would go through calculus. I would go through problem after problem after problem. I would do the same problem 5 or 6 different times, and I got like 100 problems to do at the end of the chapter. And I would do them all like 5 or 6 times to make sure that I understood it. And I would literally be in the library till 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd get back to the apartment. And he's out like a light, on the weekends, out drinking, having fun. Everybody else, I mean, I party, but man. Anyway, so he's working on Maggie, and he lives, it's a little bit of a drive, so it's about an hour from the house to go to the doctor's office. But you know what? He is very much worth it, and he has helped us through. His father was our vet for Lady and for Bear and Bella, and we used to drive to go see him too. So I guess it just runs in the freaking family. Anyway, Mike Penson-Statler, great guy, a good friend, and the most smartest guy in the world that I know, at least in my world. So anyway, David Englehart is in the house. Look at this. Good morning. Definitions, defined terms. I wish we could change the title of Article 100 because it's not definitions. The most important part of Article 100 is the defined terms. They should have terms or defined terms. I like defined terms because that's what it is. You have a term and you have a definition of the term. So anyway, we're going to dig. David, I don't know how far back you go in your code books, but I need history. I go back to 23, but I skip. I go from 1923 to 1940. So I'm missing anything before 23 and anything after 23 up to 1940. And then I've got, 43 or whatever. I'll bring the books out. We'll take a look at what the language was. I got a new set of glasses, spectacles. I got a new set of spectacles, and I even got this is a small set. So I just got these in the mail yesterday. So I will be able to read. They are 1.5s. I'll be able to, man, I'll tell you what, everything is so clear. It's crystal clear. So we are going to have some fun. It is 7:50. I've got to go. It's getting time for me to get to work. Steve, defined terms. Sounds like a public input in the making. I thought about it last cycle and the cycle before. I keep telling people, sometimes what I like to do, Steve, I'll tell you what I really like to do. This is how you know you've succeeded. When you see a public input coming from somebody else who you've never met, that are the words that you have been talking about, that means what you're saying is getting around. So I love to see public inputs and public comments that I know, based upon the language that's being used, I know where that came from. That's the best moment in that I could describe. Because that means that somebody was listening to me and someone else wants to join the Buck 41 Club. And if you don't know what the Buck 41 Club is, you got to go over to my website. Because thomasdimitrovich.com, I have the Buck 41 Club. There are a few people in it to win it. And influencing change is a very important thing. Because it means someone else agrees with you. And it means someone else agrees with you to a point where they are willing to take action. And unless you have experienced that action and we're able to influence and make a change that saves lives, when that happens, you create a motivation in yourself like no other. Because you realize, I can make a difference in this world. I can save a life. I can influence change to increase safety. If there is one life that you can attribute to your efforts, God, just imagine that. One. That's all it takes is one. All right, I have to run. I've got another meeting starting here shortly. And I've got my backup coffee in my Yeti. I've got my coffee cup. I am ready for the day. We'll see you all at 12 o'clock Eastern. And don't forget, 5 o'clock. David Engelhardt, you got to be here at 5 o'clock for The Shocking Truth with Tim Mikloiche. All right, everybody. Take care. Stay safe. And please stay healthy. Steve, cutting edge, current, practical, and evolving. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that coming from you. It means a lot. Thank you, Steve. See you guys and gals at Laurel. See you at 12 o'clock Eastern. Stay safe.